child under the age of 16 can refuse life-saving treatment. Yes, the answer is true.
Thank you kindly. You're watching The Right Stuff. We're live on 5 this Thursday morning with Carol Malone, Terry Christian and Lysette Anthony. You'll have the rest of today's headlines for you after the next break. But first, should a woman with learning difficulties be forced to have life-saving treatment against her will? rightstuff@5.tv is the place for your emails. I don't know many details. This is what we've got from the papers. The 55-year-old, known only as PS, has cancer of the uterus but has refused surgery because she's scared of hospitals and scared of needles. She's also repeatedly failed to turn up to appointments. So her doctors went to court, and yesterday a judge ruled that they can force her to have surgery, which would see both her ovaries and fallopian tubes removed. Now, the NHS states that every adult has the right to refuse treatment, but doctors also have a right or legal duty of care towards their patients, and the judge has to balance these two opposing factors. The situation is clearly further complicated by PS's mental state, as the authorities can force a person with mental health issues to have treatment. But mental health is a very wide spectrum. This woman was capable of agreeing to and making appointments. She was informed as to what surgery she needed, and she decided she didn't want none of it. So she's now going to be compelled to have surgery against her will, while, and you may remember this, a Jehovah's Witness, the 15-year-old boy Joshua McCauley, who was critically injured in a car smash earlier this month, he was allowed to die because he said his faith prohibited him from accepting a blood transfusion. And doctors respected his wishes, the wishes of a boy, but not this woman's, Carol.
Yeah, I think they're two entirely different stories. I think the Jehovah's Witness thing, I think the man
What if you take extreme religious views as being mentally ill?
Well, let me say, I think the boy grew up with a religion. I think he was of sound mind, and that was his decision. He decided. This lady, I think it depends how severe her learning difficulties are. We don't know. If they're severe...
Well, she is capable of making appointments.
Well, you say that, but, you know, OK, you can ring someone up and say, come on the 12th, and she goes, OK. It doesn't mean she's actually agreed. It doesn't mean she's consented to it. She's just gone OK. She, you know, she may have meant it at the time, but her state may mean that she, you know, later on she's not going to go. And if she has got learning difficulties, I don't know what her support system is. You know, she maybe doesn't have anybody chivvying her on to say, we have to do this. You know, you can explain. I mean, my mum, who was of totally sound mind, got to a certain age when doctors would talk to her and she would look at them and she'd nod her head and I'd say, did you get that? She'd say, no. Because they're just, you know, they get scared, they don't understand the language, the words. I think, in a way, I think it's quite comforting that a doctor would want to save your life if they think you're not capable of saving it yourself. I'm sure the lady doesn't want to die. I'm sure that's not in her thinking. Yes, she might be scared of hospitals, it might be an irrational fear, but I'm sure she doesn't want to die. And she certainly doesn't want to die of this disease. It's terrifying. So I actually find it quite comforting. I don't think every person with learning difficulties should be forced.
Isn't it a big assumption to say, on the one hand, we don't know the state of her mental well-being, and then say, you're sure she doesn't want to die?
Well, I'm sure if she understood the consequences of what that meant, she probably wouldn't. I don't know how severe she is, but I do think... Okay. It shouldn't be this for every... I think every case has to be looked at individually, but I think in this case, if the doctors feel her difficulties are severe enough, that they're acting in her best interest. They're not trying to hurt her, they're trying to save her.
OK. Terry?
Yeah, well, again, you know, rather than a painful death from cancer, then let her have the operation, and if she's not really capable of making that decision herself, then make it for her.
A 15-year-old boy can fully know, if he's brought up in a household where he's exposed to no other thoughts other than those of Jehovah's Witnesses, and has yet perhaps to even... That it may come a point in his life, there may have come a point in his life. When I was 12,
If I had my way, then I'd have said, listen, never mind your superstitions, mate, you're ill. You're having this operation, you know what I mean? So that's a different thing. That would be a different law, again, I'd have brought in, especially with him being only 15. I think for this woman... It's almost like if you take your kid to the dentist, he's scared of the needle or he's scared of, like, getting a filling. Imagine mine, I haven't had fillings yet, but you know what I mean? You just make them do it. Say, well, never mind that, you've got to have this. Or you've got to go and get a vaccination.
Lysette, are you in favour of the state interfering?
It's very difficult, isn't it? And it also taps into the whole euthanasia debate, which is, of course, the big one, is, you know, you're being forced to live. I mean, the problem is when they're saying about, you know, her mental deficiency.
There are a lot of holes in the story.
You know, if you look at it, if you say, is she basically, do you look at her as a child or as an adult? And as a child, then yes, she ought to be helped.
Although we let a child of 15
well, I think, you see,
go to his death.
My son has an incurable disease. I mean, he's doing brilliantly thanks to modern medicine and treatment. And in fact, in his class, there's a little sweetheart who's a Jehovah's Witness, and that child will be in a wheelchair. I get quite sort of cross about it, actually, because you know, their medicine, what doctors are able to do, it's phenomenal. And having been in the receiving end of care and help and miracle cures, actually, you know, we should be allowed. You know, people should be allowed to be helped. And as you say, cancer is a horrible, horrible way to go. So because it's cancer, but it's just when state starts to legislate and make these decisions, it's a very slippery slope.
But you know, but I think the religious thing as well. You know, we keep on being told in this country, and it's rammed down our throats every day. We have to respect people's religions, whether we agree with them, whether we like them.
Well,
or not.
I would say that the religious aspect is almost immaterial. He's a 15-year-old child. He does what he's told.
Yes, but and I think it's an absolute waste that a child like that was allowed to die.
Yeah.
But if we can't change the rules just because of his age, we can't. You know?
Well, change the rules though because of people's superstitions all the time.
It's not a superstition; it's a religion.
Okay,
It's different.
Well, I can see both points of that argument, I have to say. So, allowing for the fact there are lots of holes in the story and we don't have many more details, do you think this woman should be forced to have surgery against her will? Rightstuff@5.tv is the place for emails. After the break, though, it's Lysette, and she's going to take us through the best of the rest of today's headlines.
So according to today's Sun, how much sleep does the average Brit get a night? Oh, the answer is 6 hours and 21 minutes.
Sleeping on the job again, Eric. You're watching The Right Stuff. We're live on 5 with Carol Malone, Terry Christian and Lysette Anthony. Coming up shortly, we're asking if 40 plus is too old to have a baby, because the number of middle-aged women having spogs has trebled in the last 20 years. Is this a cause for celebration or for regret? 0207 173 5555 is the number for your calls on that. But first, I can see what is making headlines today.
I do want to say that, but forget about 40 having a baby. How about 40 trying to read a newspaper without your glasses?
Impossible.
I'm fine with my bifocal contacts. Yes. OK,
Anyway,
what have we got?
Well, it's this horrible, horrible story about this, as only the Sun could say, uni-boffin quizzed on crossbow cannibal killings that he's meant to allegedly, we have to say allegedly, I mean, this man hasn't even been charged yet. He's murdered these girls, not just shot them in the head with a crossbow, but caught them, stunned them, and then gone and got the crossbow, shot them at close range, and then allegedly had a bit of a meal of them. I mean, just absolutely disgusting.
It strikes me that the Sun must have had some kind of tip, maybe 24 hours before other newspapers, because they've got a lot of stuff which they managed to.
I know. I mean, the man. You know, the scary thing is that he hasn't been charged yet, and there's an awful lot of detail here.
It's worth saying that this man is being questioned in relation to the deaths or suspected deaths of 3 prostitutes and possibly another 3 going back over.
And he's studying serial killing for his degree.
He's been
so he's up on it.
Yeah. I think you're right to point out that he's only been questioned, and we'll leave that one there and await further developments. Have you got anything else?
Yes, which is being a mature mother. This one is about the delay in cutting the umbilical cord. They said that if they just leave it even 30 seconds, it will boost the...
Because having never witnessed the spectacle before...
Oh, but you will, my darling. You will. I have.
How long do they normally do it, then? How long does it normally take from baby coming out to them cutting the cord?
Having 50 hours of labour, I was a little delirious by that point. All I remember is my son being dumped on me and me going, "It's a baby!"
Run away!
Actually, it probably is about 30 seconds to a minute.
Is that all? It's really
I've
quick.
cut them both. It's a bit grizzly, you know what I mean?
Don't you talk about grizzle. You do one little snip. Try getting it out, mate. I'm sorry.
Do you know what? Mine were both popped out like bullets. 4 hours and 5 hours.
You're talking like like it was partly you had something to do with it.
He was there helping.
Exactly.
I'd prepared for a long birth. I'd bought sandwiches and everything.
Me too, then. Never got
Now,
to eat them.
on a more serious point, the reason they're saying delay
Well, they're
cutting
saying
the
because the design, nature's design, I don't know why they've taken till now to find out, because I could have done this 7 years ago, would have been helpful, is that all sorts of nutrients, so
Stem
there's the blood,
cells
stem
and stuff
cells,
like
those
that
things,
need
get
to be
it surge
transferred,
through,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And it can stop an...
There seems to be a certain degree of logic to that, I
Yes.
have to say.
I do know that my particular experience is the out he comes, and then suddenly beep, 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 and the whole operating, because of course I was on the slab being an older mother, about to be knifed, but I managed to get him out last push. And then they were gone, and it was just me and the cleaner. and my partner.
I was going to say,
know,
right.
Yes, that's what I thought, you know, because he was so relevant to the experience.
OK, anything else, Lysette? What else have we got there?